friends, it's Miss Ayla and welcome back to my kitchen. We are currently nearing the end of October, which means almost the end of spooky season. We're almost at Halloween and another really cool and important day, which is Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is a day that is celebrated in a lot of Latin American countries, and it's a day to just really celebrate and remember our loved ones that had passed on. One of the foods that is normally put on the ofrenda is pan de muerto. So I'm going to show you how to make that today. Pan de muerto is a sweetbread, and it's also a really cool way to show you how important following a recipe is, because when it comes to baking, recipes are super important, because if you get a measurement wrong, or if you don't get the timing right, it's gonna not come out that well. You might overbake, underbake, you might make things too moist or too dry, and that's why recipes are just really important with baking. Making things like bread, we don't want a dry or hard stale bread. We want something moist and fluffy and yummy and delicious, so that's what's really cool about this recipe. So I'm going to be making a vegan version of this bread because one of my housemates is vegan and I really want her to enjoy this bread when I make it. And I have my recipe written out with all of the ingredients and the measurements and then all of the steps. So the first step is we are going to dissolve 1 packet of yeast, instant dry yeast, into half a cup of alternative milk. I have oat milk. Put that in there, and then we are going to add, says add 2 tablespoons to the big spoon of flour to the mix. And then we're going to mix that up. So now that it's all mixed together, we're going to let that sit for 20 minutes, and we're going to hopefully it's gonna get like nice and foamy, which is gonna tell us that our yeast is active and ready to use. We're gonna put together our dry ingredients. So in here I have 3 1/3 cups of bread flour. You can use all-purpose flour, but if you use all-purpose flour, you are only gonna use a 1/4 cup of milk, because all-purpose flour doesn't have as much protein as bread flour does, and so it doesn't absorb as much moisture. So I have 3 1/3 cups of bread flour, and then I used 2 tablespoons of this flour for our yeast, and we're gonna add in our sugar. So I need 3/4 cups of sugar. So this is my 4th cup. 1 teaspoon of salt. And 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. I'm just gonna mix them all together until they're all incorporated. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes, and as you can tell, like, our yeast mixture is very thick and foamy, so we're gonna add that in. A 1/4 cup of orange juice. 3/4 cups of mashed potato. Alright, so it is the next day, and we are going to shape and bake off our pan de muerto to eat today. I pulled out my dough from yesterday, and it's been sitting on my counter for about an hour at room temperature. And so now we're going to start shaping it to bake off. So we are going to start by tearing off a 3-ounce ball of our dough. This is when, and I think this is true of like baking in general, when having a kitchen scale like this comes in handy, because you can get really precise measurements, which is what we really like in baking. Okay, I have 3.5. Oh man, this is tricky. It's gonna be like this little bitty bit. 3. Cool. I'm just gonna form this into a ball. Just set it aside. It's very windy out. With our remaining dough, we're gonna divide it into 4 pieces. So I'm just gonna turn it out onto a clean surface and a knife to just cut it into 4. Just in half and half again. And then I have a baking sheet with some parchment on it as a landing place for our dough. So we're gonna form this into a ball. You start off by kind of making it into a ball in your hands, and then you want it to be a tight ball. So you kind of like make a claw and put some pressure on it, but not so much that you're squishing it, and then just kind of like go around in a circle. Another way is you could take both hands and do scooping. So and just kind of like scoop with your right, catch with your left, scoop with your right, catch with your left, and just do that until you have a ball. Okay, and that's gonna go onto my parchment. I'm gonna do that for the rest. So with our remaining ball of dough, we are gonna just kind of pinch off a little bit, and we're gonna make 4, we're trying to make 4 little balls like that, and just put that on your parchment. We're gonna cut this into 4s as well. So what I like to do is go in the middle, and then middle again, and middle again. Okay, and these we are just gonna roll into like a rope. Okay, so we have our rope, and I'm gonna cut that in half, and then we're gonna make an X to kind of look like bones in a way. Kind of put that together, kind of like that, and put that aside. I'm gonna repeat that with the rest. So now that we have all of our crossed bones, we're gonna put them onto our big ball, just like that. Turn apart a little bit. Just tap them down to make sure that they're fully secured on there. Now that we've kind of done most of the assembling, we are going to cover them with a towel and just let them proof hang out for an hour to an hour and a half, or just until the dough has about doubled in size. So these are done proofing. They've been under their little towel for about an hour now, and I just preheated the oven to 350 degrees. Put our little balls on top of our crosses. So we're gonna get a wet finger. I'm just gonna get the bottom of it wet. Just stick it on like that. So these are ready to bake. Once our oven is done preheating, we're gonna bake them for about 30 minutes, and then uncover it, and then we're gonna cover them in foil to like finish out cooking for another 15 minutes. Our pan de muerto are straight up or done in the oven, so I'm just gonna put them on the cooling rack. They're nice and golden. While they're still warm, we're gonna go ahead and put some melted butter on them. If you have like a brush, I would use that. I no longer have a brush. I'm gonna sprinkle some sugar. And hopefully it sticks to the butter. There we have it. We have our vegan pan de muerto. It smells super nice and bready and yummy. You might be wondering why it is that we do like a little like crossbones in the head. So there's actually a lot of symbolism in the pan de muerto. So the big round part represents like the circle of life, so like from life to death. Then we have the cross, which represents the bones, and then the top, which represents the skull. So this is truly a bread to help celebrate, and is used to celebrate our loved ones that passed on. Feliz Dia de los Muertos, and I'll see you guys soon.